Welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. And I'd like to thank the History Center for partnering with us with the storytelling. And we want everybody to tell a story, even you one of these days. So businesses, whatever, we want to make it so people can listen to each other and share and listen and hopefully become more engaged. So Anne and I came to town 35 years ago, and our first meal on Christmas Day Eve, there was only one restaurant in Winona open, and it was the Happy Chef. And being a vegetarian, there wasn't much choice on the menu, let me tell you that. But things have bumped up a little bit. The Blue Heron and the family, what they've done here in the last 27 years is quite remarkable. Yeah. I just want to share just a few things. Young people come to Winona State in the last 27 years. They've looked for a job. And some of them are looking for a new family because maybe they didn't have the right beginning, they needed a second start. Well, when they worked at the Blue Heron, they found another family. And not only they worked there for a couple of years, they moved on, they're still part of that family. And that's what really inspires me about the Blue Heron. They looked after the people. There were two people, Hannah and Tony, worked at Blue Heron about 20 years ago. They lived Larry says, don't remember them. They live in Wyoming now, they're married and have a baby, and I'm still in touch with them. But it's just to connect the quality of the food that you have. You believe in good food for all of us, which means a lot. I mean, it's just bringing us together. You have an art gallery down there. You support the community in so many ways. You've helped the Storytelling Festival immensely by having events down there, fundraisers, and you've given it everything you can, and we really appreciate that. Larry and Colleen have I've got 3 awards since I've been here at least, and I have to share with you that People's Choice Award, Visit Winona, River Arts Alliance, supporting the arts, Fine Arts Commission Award, supporting the arts. And I'm going to hand it over to Larry right now, and he's going to take it over. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to the History Center, and thank you for being here. Turn your phones off.
All right. Any questions? Thank you for coming. Thank you, Tav. Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Larry Wolner. Along with my wife, Colleen, we run Blue Heron Coffeehouse. And I'm here to regale you with the story of Blue Heron Coffeehouse, how it began and why it began. Blue Heron Coffeehouse started in 1998, September of 1998. On the corner of Huff and Mark Street.
Talk more to the microphone.
What?
Closer to the microphone.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay. Its genesis began several years earlier. We were living on a 5-acre farm in Zimmerman, Minnesota, trying to raise vegetables and children. I was working in the cities, driving an hour and a half each way, and coaching 3 soccer teams. We thought we'd do something easier. So we began casting about for other opportunities. Now at the time, my mother was in a nursing home in Elk River, Minnesota, which is about 10 miles south of Zimmerman. And I didn't feel like I could make a change and leave her on her own. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, she passed away. And that pretty much freed us up for an opportunity to move pretty much anywhere we wanted to. Colleen's parents still lived in Elk River, but we went over to their house one day to maybe discuss this with them, and there's a for sale sign in the front yard. And they were moving 200 miles away. So I was like, well, okay. So we began casting out for ideas like what we might want to do. We knew we wanted to be in the food business. Colleen at the time was managing a coffee house in Elk River. And both of us had had a fair amount of experience in the restaurant industry. So we knew enough to know better. We still didn't. And Colleen had a connection with Winona. She had come down here in 1976 and went to school at St. Teresa's. And like a lot of people who come to Winona to go to school, they stayed. She stayed here until 1981. It was part of the community, got to know people, most notably Bill Crozier and David Eckelard. So through them, we've been down here visiting and realized we really liked this community. And we wanted to make a change for our family. We weren't happy with the community we were in. We wanted to move somewhere where there were more like-minded people. And so we had these great ideas. And the thing about the restaurant industry is anybody that works in it really does have an opportunity to do it on their own. And you can usually do it on your own with very little capital. And that's exactly where we were. We had a lot of ideas and absolutely no money. But we wanted to approach it from the idea standpoint. Because if you create an idea, you can cultivate it, and then the means for it might make it happen. But you have to have that idea first. So, with some friends of ours, we started what we called a success group. We all were wanting to make some sort of change, and so we would get together periodically and challenge ourselves and have homework and set goals and sort of cultivate whatever ideas we had. And so through this venue or avenue, we cultivated the idea to open a restaurant or be in the food business, and we wanted to do it in Winona. And so we came down here several times casting about. We looked at a pizza place, a garlic farm. We looked at a place on Huff Street, the Natural Habitat, which was for sale. But again, the capital issue came into play. So we had to go back and figure out how do we make this work. So over the course of time, as we cultivated our idea, things started to fall into place. And one day, I got a call. So I'm out working in the garden, and this was back before cell phones or anything. So the kids come out and say, "Dad, someone's on the phone for you." And so I trudge into the house, and invariably they hang up. So I thought, all right, well maybe this time. So I go in the house, well, it's David Eckelard. He's calling to tell me that Natural Habitat is available again, but they're just selling the business and they want out. So we thought, well, this is a great opportunity. In the meantime, I had been at a friend's mother's funeral, and was, like old friends catching up, and I was telling him what we were interested in. As it so happens, he goes and talks to his father, who was a very generous man. And he gifted us enough money to make it happen. Wow. I mean, so this project that we started, this dream that we tried to build, suddenly took on a life of its own. It's like, now it's going to happen. So we come down, and I don't know if any of you remember the Natural Habitat. Yeah. Okay, so that particular location, my understanding was that it started out as a candy store a long time ago. Ice cream. And then it was McVeigh's ice cream forever. And then it was McVeigh's because someone else bought it from McVeigh's. And then Natural Habitat bought it. The natural habitat, the genesis of that was that there was a group of 4 friends who, you sit around, drink some wine, and all sorts of possibilities come up. And one of them was a good cook. We could own a restaurant. And so they opened a restaurant. And then one couple got divorced, so now it's 2. And one partner is a professor at Winona State, so now it's 1 person running it. And she said, I'm done. And so this created a great opportunity for us to come in and say, well, we have this little bit of cash and we'll give you that. They said, great. They were ready to walk away and close it, and we said, no, don't close it. And so in September of 1998, Colleen moved down here and bunked up at Bill and Julie Crozier's house and ran the natural habitat. And Julie, being a great artist, she painted Blue Heron Coffeehouse on the window with house paint. And that stayed there for a long time. So that was the start of Blue Heron Coffeehouse. I stayed back in Zimmerman and took care of all the other things that we didn't think about, like having 6 kids in school, 5 kids in school and a toddler, and a house to sell, and that sort of thing. But the energy was there. The dream was being built. The momentum was already going. We couldn't stop it if we wanted to. So in November of that year, we were lucky enough to find a house in Centerville, because it turns out that renting a house in Winona for a family of 9 is difficult. But I talked to a lot of landlords, and they said, Colleen and I, we could probably come up with the $250 rent, but I don't think the kids are going to do it. So we packed up everything and drove to Wisconsin and ended up in Winona. Now, our history of being in the restaurant business, like I said, goes back quite a ways. I started working at Alfonso's Pizza and Edina when I was 16 years old. And if any of you have worked in the restaurant industry, it's fun. It is. It's, I read somewhere someone said that I do it for the adrenaline rush. And it's true. So I worked at a lot of places. I worked for TGI Fridays for several years, so I got a taste of the corporate structure. And like I said, Colleen had worked at various restaurants throughout her life. And again, we knew enough to know better, but there was this pull to run your own business and to do it with food. And so now we were going to realize that dream. And I think, part of that for me comes from my mom was a good cook. She was born in 1913, so she grew up during a time when people made food. They didn't buy food and eat it, they bought ingredients and made it. And so as a curious child, I was always watching her. I remember looking at the mixer, watching it, and I was just thinking about this, specifically watching her hands as she did things. She had this old knife, and she would kite everything and cut into her thumb. And I'm like, and everything was perfectly diced. And, whether that made a difference with me or not, it's a great story, isn't it? And my dad was a mechanic, so again, I'm right there watching him use his hands to do things, which is entirely part of what making food is. What making food from scratch is using your hands. It's a very tactile skill. So that's what brought us into this, that kept us in it and doing it. So we come down to Winona, we open this coffee house, and it becomes this incredible experience. Because as Taft mentioned, the employees, we inherited employees, and some of them we didn't keep. The first one we kept was a woman named Sarah Hesse, and she was this goofy co-ed. But she stuck with us for many years, and there were so many of them like that we got to experience things with. And in thinking about this talk, thinking about those experiences with those students, that they were also in Winona on an adventure of trust, that they came down here to the unknown. And so we had this shared experience of doing something together. Sarah now has written, I don't know if she's up on the picture, but
She's in that. She's the top center.
that's right, her right top center. She's written, what, 5 cookbooks, the Vanilla Bean Project,
New York Times bestseller.
New York Times bestseller list. And she's had some nice things to say about us in each book. That was not our intent. We weren't down here to make friends. We were hoping to make enough money with this harebrained idea so our family could survive. And so we came up with this philosophy, which I put in a bio for, because you make a biography. And there's a couple things I was thinking about. One was what my dad said, which may be a curse or a blessing. He said, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. A lot of long nights with that advice. And the other one was I read an article about Susan Marvin from Marvin Windows up in Warroad, Minnesota. And she talked about take care of your customers and your employees, and everything falls into place. And those two things struck me. So I'm just going to read our biography, just to touch on some of our philosophy. We believe that preparation and cooking of food is one of the most delightful activities a human being can do, and recognize that the enjoyment of wholesome food is essential to the pursuit of happiness. Blue Heron Coffeehouse began in 1998 in Winona, Minnesota, directly across from Winona State University, and began providing quality food products made from scratch, using organically grown ingredients whenever possible. The menu includes coffee, espresso, tea, beverages, soup, salads, sandwiches, pastries, and desserts, many of them vegetarian and vegan. Our goals are to promote good food that is local, seasonal, and organically grown, to inform consumers that there is a choice in Winona for such food, and for vegetarian and vegan options, to advocate sustainability and biodiversity, cultivate a sense of community and a gathering space to support local growers, artists, and musicians. The driving force behind Blue Heron Coffeehouse has always been our passion for providing good food and service to our community. With our large repertoire of recipes, culinary adventurism, and commitment to quality, we are able to offer a diversity of menu items to create a niche in the Winona market. Making food from scratch is an extension of what we are already doing for our large family, raising our own food organically and cooking fresh, healthy meals. We've been steadfast in our efforts to acquire quality, organically grown ingredients, locally if possible, as a basis for good food. We've produced both familiar and unique items not found elsewhere, and made them in small batches to ensure quality and freshness, thus creating a certain propriety to our offerings. We strive to focus on our customers' needs and provide quality, personal service. Our goal is to build a reputation for good food done well, in a warm, inviting space that would appeal to people from a cross-section of our community, with appreciation for such things, and that has been largely met. These things have helped to define and establish us in our own niche, and give us a competitive advantage. Good food. That's the basis for what we're doing. We were invited by the Minnesota Cooks to do a food demonstration at the Minnesota State Fair one year. And for those of you who don't know, that I really like going to the State Fair. I've been going on pretty much every year. My mother had us kids in Swedish folk dancing. And we would go to the State Fair every single day. They'd take the bus and transfer downtown to the State Fair bus. And we go and we do a performance at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. every day at the fair and then take the bus back. So it was really, I was marinated in the fair. And so here's this opportunity. Our daughter Anna marched with the Winona High School band in the parade at the state fair. I'm so proud. And so that year, you know, I would close for a day and rent a coach bus and bring our staff and one of their friends to the state fair. So we loaded up all this food on the bus and brought it up there, and we did a demonstration. It was really a wonderful experience. And there's another restaurant on stage. Our son Leonard and our son Eric were the chefs. And they're up there demonstrating how they made the food and stuff. And the other restaurant went on this long dialogue about why they were doing this and what they do. And they asked Leonard, and he said, "We just make good food." And that was it. And so our intention from the beginning was to do good food, because that takes care of people, and because I like good food. So we were on Huff Street for 7 years, and most of you have been in there. It's not a big space, and we wanted more, because that's what you do when you run a business, and especially a restaurant. And as has been the case for most of what we've done in our career here, serendipity and generosity have played a very big role. So once again, we have another great idea and no capital. But we didn't stop there. You know, we can try to make this happen. So as luck would have it, a friend of ours, Chris Kendall, bought a building downtown and leased it to us for the space. And so another adventure began, where we were building out a space, creating a new restaurant, and opening that in 2006. And the generosity of the community came forward to help us with the financing. And the generosity of the community came forth to support us through this whole thing. And so we reopened downtown in a much bigger space with a much bigger idea. We were open late, we had dinners, we had music. We totally overdid it. It was a lot. It was a great idea. It was a really great idea. Right? Wasn't it a great idea? Yes, okay. See? Well, then 2008 came, the financial crisis, and that was the tipping point for us. We had to close for a bit. But again, the generosity and serendipity of the community helped us get back on our feet. We leased part of the space, the bookshelf, to defray some expenses, pared down what we were doing, and got back at it. Making good food, creating a good space, taking care of our customers, taking care of our employees. You know, the ensuing years, that worked out okay until it didn't. We regained the entire space, and things were going along smoothly, and then COVID hit. And we closed, but again, we were lucky that we were able to stay open because we had minimal expenses. And then we readjusted post-COVID to what we have today. We're not open 7 days a week. We're not open countless hours. And it's working fine for us. For those of you who are hungry on Monday and Tuesday, not so much. But you come in hungry on Wednesday. So that's where we are today. And I think our success is based on that intention of just doing something well. making good food, never compromising on it. We've worked long hours to make sure that happens. And the relationships we've made through this experience are priceless. The number of people we know as customers, our friends, and the employees. It's just this incredible number of people that have come through our door with, the staff said they maybe needed a second go round to the family, which sometimes we already have kids. But it's so gratifying. It's so gratifying to have this experience, to be part of this community, to be part of something that we can give to and get in return. And the essence of it is just makes us so grateful. So I believe that might be all I have. So, Mary, is that okay?
Excellent job. Questions?
Are any of your children in the food business?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have 3 of them working for us now and a granddaughter. We didn't teach them well. I'm just kidding. Yes, no, the passion is with them also. Yeah.
When did you start including artwork in the restaurant?
I think it was after the bookshelf left. I don't know. There's a point in time that we did, because we have this a lot of wall space, and the benefit to us is we get to decorate for several months and then redecorate. We don't have to buy artwork. Again, generosity. The Marine Art Museum put new light system in, and they had track lights they were getting rid of, and I said, so I put track lights up, and we're able to illuminate it. And it's fun to have that there because, first of all, an artist gets to display their stuff in a big room, so a lot of pieces. And the art galleries in town aren't always accessible. So people will come in, there's a lot of travelers that come through who will come in for lunch, and all of a sudden they get to see this art that they might not have ever seen. But the best part is there's so many great artists, and for us to be able to share that and just have that in our space is a really wonderful serendipity. I mean, again, we didn't plan to open an art gallery, but we
Well,
have the walls.
thank you for finding that sometime.
Yeah. Well, things morph, Good ideas come late sometimes. I'm still waiting on that one. Mary.
Do you want to talk just a little bit about your partnership with the Bookshelf? When you were partnering with them?
We just rented space to them because we needed to defray our expenses. And the coffeehouse culture, when we first started this, was really just starting. In the 90s, Starbucks and Caribou were fledglings, and there were a lot of people getting into the coffeehouse business. That's why we wanted it. It's a hot thing. And coffee houses and bookstores seem to be a natural combination, so. Yes?
You have a really good sense of humor, and you have really good food.
Thank
When
you.
I'm asking also, your mother and your family, in the history where you started talking about your mother,
Mhm.
are any of those recipes that you, food that you've served, Are any of those recipes from the family, the old days, mother, grandmother?
I
Or are they new?
don't know if we have any of those recipes.
I just wonder.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is a secret to success. Don't know. Well, you know, part of it was the statistics in restaurants is most of them fail within the first 2 years. You know, a majority of the rest of them fail within 5 years. And a lot of it has to do with mismanagement. So before we got into this, we were paying attention to restaurants and stories about restaurants and my experience working in different restaurants. It's absolutely nothing to do with making food and serving it. It has everything to do with the people running it. You know, alcohol, cocaine, fiddling with the staff. I mean, it's all personality issues, you know, not food. So, what I like to say that. Anyway,
Larry, one of my favorite nights that you ever started was the pizza night.
Yeah.
And once a month, you used to have a pizza night.
Yeah.
And we all look forward to it. I mean, we plan our vacations or whatever around we were going to be here. Make sure that we pick up on Thursday night. Will they ever come back?
perhaps the issue, the post-COVID reality is we have a very small staff right now. We used to have a lot of people, and we used to have a talent pool that we could draw from. So if people left, there was always, we could relatively easily get someone with a skill set. After COVID, you know, we used to get stacks of applications and it'd be like, man, these are all good, I can't decide. And now we get them and it's like, I'll just do it myself. I was in there this morning at 4:30 baking because that's what needs to be done. And that's the beauty of owning your own business. You get both ends of the stick. So pizza night, yeah, it's a hard one. It was so much fun. I'd be back there rolling out pizzas and all I could hear was laughter. The whole place was full of people laughing. It's very gratifying, but I can't stay up till midnight and get up at 4 in the morning. Sorry, Steve.
When you get hungry about a sandwich, which sandwich do you eat?
Okay, so this is the honesty part. I don't really like our food. How many people have stood with their refrigerator door open going, we don't have anything to eat, do we? I mean, so it's, yeah, a lot of it I don't. And part of working in the restaurant is a lot of times we forget to eat. I mean, I should get something to eat, and then it's an hour later. And at the end of the day, it's like, why am I so crabby? It's like, well, I didn't eat anything today. I'm surrounded with food. But that's the honest answer. You know, our food is really good. I know that.
I like the Southwest turkey sandwich.
Southwest turkey is probably the most popular sandwich. Nancy?
Something I've always been impressed with are your soups. Your soups are so incredibly creative, original, delicious, and you have so many of them. And I will often choose a soup that sounds at least appetizing, and I know I'm going to love it. I've never had a soup that disappointed, and you've got so many of them. And I know some elegant restaurants who only have maybe 3 or 4 to choose from, and they keep, bringing them back. And so what is your secret there? Is there one particular soup genius or?
Well, Leonard.
There we go.
Son Leonard, raise your hand. That's the intention. We want to make good soups, and I think it was around the pandemic or before that. I was talking to a maintenance guy that was in, and he said one of his clients, it was after pandemic, he said one of his clients had to close because they couldn't get soup. And I thought, how can you not get soup? But most restaurants don't make food. They buy it frozen in a bag from Cisco. And if Cisco's not, well, so Cisco produces or buys food that's mass-produced and bagged and frozen. And so, you know, where's the crappy job? Somebody making soup all day for low pay. Is it good, you think? And when they say, I don't want to do this anymore, now no one's making crappy soup to freeze and bag. But we don't, we buy ingredients and make the soup. And, you know, the intention is to make good soup, so we make it by hand. We make our own stock. And we use either fresh herbs or dried herbs that are reasonably fresh, not, you know, those tins of antique ones that you get in the grocery store. And so the intent is to make good food, and that includes soup. But that's a great advertising thing, Nancy. We have the most unappetizing soups. But they're good. I'll see you all tomorrow. Yes.
This is sort of a soup-related question, perhaps, but it's how do you deal with food waste? Does soup help with that? Not necessarily waste,
Right.
but excess.
Helps that you can freeze it real easy.
No, it
We also want out of it.
Excess
we buy,
Oh, yeah.
we purchase with the intent of using it for
Yeah.
a certain thing. And since we have hands-on in the kitchen, we know how much we're using and what we're using it for. And well, the scraps go in a bucket. I take them home and compost them, and I put them in my garden, so there is no waste. And even though they're not that appetizing, they're good, so people eat them, so they're not going, come on, we're having fun here. You guys wanted to hear me. And so that's the other part of it. It's, you know, a lot of times you go to restaurants and you see all this food left on plates. It's like, no, why don't you make the food good, give them a little less. It costs you less. They eat it all and they're satisfied. So that's part of the intention. I want you to eat the whole sandwich or take it home, but. Anyone else?
I have a question.
This is our daughter, Violet. Okay, so before you start, backstory. So our daughter, Violet, graduated from high school in 1997, 1998. She was going to get away from home. So she moved to Winona to go to St. Mary's. And who comes right behind her? The whole damn family came after her. Okay, I'm sorry, what's your question here?
So I love the podcast, How I Built This. And one of the questions that they always ask their entrepreneurs is, how much of your success do you contribute to luck, and how much do you contribute to hard work?
I contribute all of it to luck and hard work. So, one of our iterations, when we moved downtown, we were going to be a music venue. Just, if anyone's thinking that, it's a great way to lose a lot of money. But we had a lot of great musicians. It was a wonderful experience. And one of the musicians, although he said this at the concert at St. Mary's, Peter Strushko, and someone asked him about his success with Very Own Companion and all that stuff, and he goes, we didn't know any of that we were going to be successful. He said, but we practiced all the time. We put in the work, and then the luck happens. And he told some story about some guitarist who in Texas who was a good guitarist, but he wasn't in a band or anything. And then some big name band came through and their guitarist quit, and they said, we need a guitarist, and all of a sudden he's playing with this famous band. So if you do the work, the luck works better. So the luck comes around all the time, and we're all going, what? But if you got the work in, when luck happens, that happens. Yes, sir.
So you guys are art gallery without columns and stuff in that gallery at all. And
And I don't know if people know your philosophy of how every penny of the art the person sells there, they keep it.
Yeah.
An art gallery can charge a pretty high commission.
Yeah, this
You
is,
guys you are so supportive of artists.
well, the arts are important, and we can support it in ways that, well, this is how we can support it. You know, we can't make a major contribution to any of you, cash-wise, for anything. But we can give you space, and we can let you keep the money.
It's a wonderful thing, Larry.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How about Colleen?
Yeah, we're about
You want to come up and tell the rest of the story? All right, well, thank you all for paying attention and laughing and not Googling to fact check. Although I don't really know that. Yes, Anna, this is our daughter Anna.
What is it like going on this endeavor with the person that you chose to spend the rest of your life with? I mean, obviously, you shacked up with her, a bunch of kids, so you must like her. But going into business with your partner is crazy. So how would you say that it worked? Because if it didn't work, it wouldn't have happened.
Right, it didn't work. It wouldn't have worked if it couldn't have worked. And if we weren't like-minded, and take that however you want, we couldn't have done this. But we seem to be agreeable on a lot of things, and that's allowed this to happen. It has not been easy. It has not been necessarily profitable, but like I said before, the experience has been unbelievable. I mean, I got a room full of people listening to me babble on about my life stories. Like, that's weird. But again, the serendipity of your actions, we did the work. The intention was to try and get through this, but always make sure that we put good stuff on the plate and treat people well.
Remind me, did you have training? Did you have any kind of
I have a
training?
degree in soil and water resource management. All the vegetables we get are grown in soil. There's a lot of water in coffee and soup. So yes, extensive. No, I worked at various restaurants. I had a lot of my own jobs because, I don't know, there's that personality that I'm going to do this myself. You know, my brother and sister, 2 years older than me, and I think they both had maybe 5 jobs in their whole life. And I usually lasted 2 years because I get bored, or somebody else would say, you know, you should go do something else. Because I'm not, you know, so I'm a know-it-all and I don't take direction. So you go into business for yourself. Or, like I like to tell people, I'm in business for myself because I'm too lazy to get a job.
Colleen, what did you study at St. Teresa's?
Art therapy.
See, that's why you work in a restaurant.
Well, I just want to say that over all the years that I've known Larry and Colleen, I've been a volunteer for many different organizations, and every single time without hesitation, if I asked them to make a food donation, yes, I always got a yes. So thank you.
Anybody else? Boy, look at it. What's that?
No, but you go first.
This isn't a question, but a story. I recently had a group of 10 college friends who had a little reunion in Trempealeau, and I helped plan the weekend, and they said, well, where do you want to go in Winona? And the one place I wanted them to see was the Blue Heron. And I tried to figure out why this was, and it was, for my world in Winona, it's like the soul of Winona. And 10 of us came in. I called at 8 in the morning. She said if I called at 8 in the morning, they could get us in. You know, we came at 1 o'clock, so it was a little less crowded. They had a great time, and good food and art on the walls and ambiance, and it was just, I was so happy to have this place to take them. So again, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Appreciate that. Those compliments are real drivers for us. I mean,
Jose?
And that is so true. Because every time a family from Ecuador comes to visit, that's what I send them. So true. My question is, who came up with the name and who designed the cool logo? Because it fits you right.
okay, so I mentioned earlier that when Colleen was here, St. Teresa's, she met Bill Crozier and David Eckelard, and they stayed in touch and mostly grew up. And Bill met Julie and married her. Julie is a wonderful artist, and so when we decided to do this business, well, what should we name it? And so we were throwing names out and trying to figure stuff out, and talked to Bill Crozier's father, who taught history, and said, well, some of the names in town. He goes, yeah, a lot of the names are from scoundrels. Right now, right? Well, Julie had an art gallery. It's called Blue Heron Gallery. And David Eckelard was doing the Blue Heron Consort. And so, sitting around drinking wine, we came up with this idea. We said, oh, we should call Blue Heron Coffeehouse. Hey, that's great. And then Julie painted the logo on her window, and she designed the logo. She's been an invaluable resource. Yes.
At one time, the heart of Winona was the hot fish shop. And I think if this could last 3 generations, that will be proof of the pudding.
Okay, our grandson's here, Everett.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great. You know, it would be wonderful to pass on a legacy. But, you know, to be honest, we're ready to pass on a legacy. It's a lot of work. It's our livelihood, but it's so gratifying, you know. And I told a number of people this, I'm having an awful day, and I hate everybody, and I hate everything. And someone pulls me aside and tells me how wonderful our place is, and that they really appreciate what we do. And it's like, all right, I'll come back tomorrow. So I mean, there is that. This is what we do. I think we do it well. We still enjoy doing it. It is wearing, but it would be nice to move on.
Jack?
I think your sense of humor helps carry the day there.
Yeah. I never knew you were so funny.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that also.
Anybody else? Thank you so much. Community. This is just a fraction of the people that appreciate you. This is a full house tonight, and we appreciate it. How many people here have not been to the Sandbar Storytelling Festival? They've not been. You've all been? You haven't been yet? Wow, I'm impressed. Well, I'll see you in October, okay? October 10th and 11th, there's 7 storytellers from all over North America, and they're really top shelf tellers. Now, I'm supposed to tell you a couple of things. Oh, look at this.
Very cool.
Look this way.
Sophia was just 2 when we moved down here. She grew up in the coffee house. It's her daughter Violet, her husband Terry, grandson Everett, her son Leonard, and our granddaughter Fiona, who is now working for us. So come in
Look
and
this
see
way.
us all.
You wanna go where people all know the same. You wanna go where everybody knows.